You're listening to the Low Pressure Podcast, the podcast for skiers.
Presented by CMH Heli Skiing and Peak Performance.
This episode of the LPP is brought to you by CMH Heli Skiing, Peak Performance Outerwear, Fat Tire Amber Ale, RMU Skis and Mountain Culture Shops, and the official destination partner of the LPP, Kicking Horse Mountain Resort in beautiful Golden, British Columbia. Enjoy the episode. All right. Cheers. Thanks for bringing the kombuchas over.
You're welcome.
They're actually really good. Mango passion fruit. It's my style. It's my favorite kind of ice cream. Or like sorbet or ice cream. You know when you go to like sushi restaurants?
Yeah.
They always have the mango ice cream afterwards.
I see. I think for me it's lemon.
Lemon?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, we're off to a roaring start. Do we run out of stuff to talk about?
Already?
No, I don't think so. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Welcome to Whistler. You're kind of, it's like, would you consider this your second home this season?
I think it's starting to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's not yet.
No?
But I feel like, like it's a feeling?
Yep.
That you're like, oh, I don't know why, but I'm drawn to it.
Well, because you've been here, was your second time here this season?
Yeah.
And you never really got to spend too much time here before, right?
No, it's actually like my first, like I realized that the other month when I arrived, I was like, oh my goodness, it's like my first time in Whistler in winter season.
For real?
I always came to Whistler during summertime for training camp on a glacier.
Right.
And to see Whistler actually in winter season, it was beautiful. I was actually shook to see it.
Right?
Yeah, it was way more
You're
nice.
like, holy smokes, there's snow here,
There's
right?
snow and people, and like it's so cute. I arrived during like a snowstorm, like the second or something that you guys had, and it was just like so beautiful. I think it was,
Well, that's like
special.
that's the whole point of this town is,
Yep.
like for that exact, for the tourists, when it snows, it's that fake, it's that imitation European style village, right?
Yep.
When all the lights are there and all the landscaping and everything's tailored for everywhere you look, it's kind of a photo opportunity.
Well, I fell for it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, great to have you. So the reason you're here is for kind of obviously skiing, but training motives.
Yeah, motive are clearly training. Well, like I've been training pretty much the past few months, and I'm kind of running and like looking for as much training that I can get.
Right.
In the smallest amount of time.
Right. So for those of you that aren't aware, you are a wild card for the Freeride World Tour this season. We'll get to that. Well, we talk about it a little bit now. You're trying to training for it, but your whole history has been in mogul skiing.
Yep.
I think I'd like to start kind of at the start, and we'll do a quick little history, and then we can kind of move forward from there. So for those of you who don't know, you are a gold and silver medalist for Canada in the Olympics in moguls.
Yep.
That's pretty amazing. I've known who you are for a long time because I'm a huge Olympics guy. And I was like, yeah, nice. I remember watching your runs and being like, yeah. And then seeing you and your sister on the podium being like, yeah, they're sisters. Canada's the best. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I need to get that girl on the podcast. And I think when you were here for a training camp at some point in some summer, I tried to talk to someone at Freestyle Canada or whatever like that. I didn't really work too hard at it. But I'm like, oh, they're in town. Oh, I'm going to see it if I can make this happen. And it was one of those things in my mind where I was like, oh, they're an Olympian. They've got all this other stuff going on. I'm like, they're not going to want to do a little podcast, right? And then when we met you in Europe last year, I was like, oh, she's like the nicest person ever. I'm like, we're going to totally make this happen.
Well, there we are.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about some of your history.
Yeah.
So you and your two sisters were all on the Canadian mogul team.
Yeah.
Les Sœurs Dufour-Lapointe. Do you guys still use that Instagram account?
I mean, on Facebook, on different platform, because
mostly when you have to promote something or you
I
have
mean,
like a
it's it's us, it's part of who we are. It's part of our story. Like there's no other Sœurs for la Pointe, like it's just the way, and still people like call us that way. Like I'm sure some people don't even know like our own name.
Right.
And just like mix it up. Like, because they don't, what happened is at Sochi when we won gold and silver.
Chloe, right?
Yes. Chloe and I, like for people, it was like not who won the gold, but they won together.
Right.
That's what people focus, and that's what they saw, and they didn't care who was.
There's
who.
that classic photo of you and your sister holding hands on the podium.
Yeah.
Like that's like one of like the most classic, long-lasting Canadian Olympic moments.
I'm so proud of it. Honestly, it's one of my favorite shot, because it reminds me more than just like a medal, It's way more than that. It's value of what we all share, which is family, which is sibling, which is actually love.
Right. That's really cool. So let's go kind of beginning. So your parents, I'm assuming that with 3 sisters that all compete in Moguls, that your parents were the ones that were like, hey, we're going to go skiing and then we're going to put you guys into Moguls. Like you're the youngest of the 3, right?
Yeah. I'm the youngest, but no, you're actually wrong on that.
Oh, yeah?
Because my parents did not want us to do any type of competitive sport.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. They were actually like really, I would say maybe sometimes like selfish about it, because they wanted to keep their daughter together and ski together as a family. They prefer, and they rather of just like ski together all weekends. But it was actually
It's easier to keep track of 3 girls when they're all in the same place.
But they wanted to spend time with us. And then my sister Max saw that race, that freestyle mogul competition, and she was like, oh my God.
Where would you be skiing when you're that age?
Around the Laurentian in Quebec. That's how typically people ski it's like an hour drive from Montreal.
What resort or what area?
We switched around different mountain, but we did mostly like Mont Saint-Sauveur, Mont Gabriel, like really tiny hill compared to Whistler.
Right. Is that anywhere near Massif du Sud?
No. Massif is way more close to Quebec.
Okay.
And the Laurentian are way more close to Montreal.
Oh, like Quebec City, you mean? Okay, and the Laurentians are the other way?
Montreal.
Okay. And is that near like Tremblant?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Tremblant.
All right. And then you go farther up and it's Chic-Chacs, like towards like New Brunswick and stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But you have to get through Quebec though.
Okay. All right. So home for you was originally, where'd you go grow up?
Montreal.
Okay.
I'm born and raised in the city, which is kind of funny because, I mean, to get through that point of being like, skiing is my full-time kind of job.
From the city of Montreal, right?
Yeah, it's kind of rare, but I love that because I think for me, like how it happened is like my family love to spend time with like the 3 of us, like and in family. And then we just started skiing because my parents were really active and they love to play around and have fun. And for us, like weekend were like dedicated to spending time outside, like doing sailing during summer and doing skiing.
Sailing?
Yep.
There's a lot of people, I know a lot of people from Montreal that were big into sailing.
Well, I have a sailboat.
Do you?
I do.
Where do you sail? On the St. Lawrence?
No. I sail in Lake Champlain, which is actually in the state.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a big lake and it's like an hour drive from Montreal. It's really, it's a beautiful lake and really easy. And a lot of people do that actually.
All right. So summertime. Yeah, we're like, let's jam all this stuff as we can. So sailing in the summer, skiing in the wintertime. Yep. So your parents did you guys have a cabin somewhere or did you just...
Yeah, when we started doing a lot of skiing, like at some point they bought a old cabin that we still have. It's so cute and it's really a tiny little cabin.
Tight for 5?
Really tight. 1 bathroom. And we live like the dorm room is like 3 double bed next to each other where we all slept in the same room, which is kind of, I think that's what makes it so special.
So you're tight and close and you had no choice. So how did you get into mogul skiing? So you would go out and your parents would just want to keep you guys together and they're keeping you away. So who was the first to get into moguls?
It was my big sister, Max. She saw one of her friends having a race, a mogul competition, and she was really drawn to it. And one mom says to her, like, hey, like, do you like it? Like, there's not that many girls. You should try. I'm sure you would be good. And she started at 12 years old.
How much older? What's the difference between the three of you?
We have like almost 2
12,
in between
12,
each other.
10-ish and 8-ish kind of thing?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
And then after that, the year after, my other sister and I wanted to join. So
Because the big sister was doing it and you guys had to?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it looks cool. It looked fun. And, you know, in Quebec and in Montreal, like, skiing mogul is really popular in the sense of, like, we have tiny hills.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have big mountain. We don't have, like, alpine. Like, we just have tiny things.
Yeah,
so
well,
that's what people do.
That's
it's like,
funny. You said ski. You said before Montreal and like Quebec. Quebec has an amazing skiing culture, but it's less freeride.
Yeah.
But it's more like Olympic style sports. Like you get the best mogul skiers are from Quebec. The best, like aerial skiers are from Quebec. Like look at Jean-Luc Brassard. Look at Michael Kingsbury.
We're obsessed.
Right? Like they're the best in the world that have come from Quebec.
I think we just like have tiny thing, but we just do the
There's
most
nothing.
of it.
There's nothing else to do, so you want to get good at that kind of thing.
I think it's just what I see is that every time you go skiing in like tiny hills in Quebec, whatever, like everyone is really good.
Right.
Skier. Like I don't see that many there is beginners, but not that many in like the mountain.
Because they do it early, right?
I think we do it early. We just like it's a weekend family thing. It really is.
Mm-hmm. So 12 years old, Max starts doing moguls. How much longer till you are allowed to go in?
The year after.
Oh, for really? So nice and young.
Nice and young. I was 8 years old when I joined.
Holy.
The team, whatever.
The local club or whatever.
The local club, and I mean, at first I was not really like. I was just loving the vibe. I was just, this is cool. I get to have like candy, ski with my friends. For me, it was all about the social aspect of like having fun, to be outside, and like that was, and for me, like seeing my sister doing it, I was like, why not me? Like I just want to follow.
Right. Were you that little kid? Were you like the third child that's always kind of following the big sisters?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was me, 100%.
I'm just gonna do what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving forward, you start doing moguls as you're kind of growing up. You're going on the weekends. Your parents are like, "Oh crap, I got 3 girls in this thing." But the thing with that is, I guess you'd always there'd be one van to each of the events.
Exactly. It was actually easier now. Like after that, I think they realized that it was actually the best thing because you don't have to drive like everyone at different sports.
Yeah.
And it's just the same place, the same event, and it's the same like community. So it's really
so then
easy.
how did you guys end up getting on like the Canadian team? Was it like a development team? Were you all 3 on at the same time? Were you guys all kind of was Max a little better for a while because she was older? Like how did it all play out?
Well, it started my big sister Max joined the national team, and then not long after that Chloe, my second sister, did, and she was really like into like really good, and she started after that almost the next year on the World Cup circuit, and she did good, and she managed to qualify to go to Vancouver Olympic game. At that time, for me, I was on like the Quebec team, and I was 15 years old, and I was like, cool.
Yeah.
My sister going to the Olympic game, but I was like not getting it,
right?
Because you're 15, you don't understand how big it is to go to the Olympic game. But my sister were so driven, both of them, to go, and only my sister Chloe qualified. But Max was there as a forerunner. So then I show up with my parents to watch Chloe and to be there at the bottom cheering for her, of course. And I think that's really that hit me. I was like, whoa.
I'm going to do this.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, this is fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, this is speaking to me.
It was the most fun 2 weeks ever. Like,
No, but
ever.
for me, it's like seeing a slope of freestyle mogul lighten up, and to see my sister having a 30-second where the world stopped turning and everyone having their eyes on her. And I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. I want to have that 30-second and show myself out there, you
Right.
know?
That was like as soon as that happened, I was like, all right, this is my focus in life.
And now, like, at that point, I knew, okay, now I want to go to the Olympic. And that was clear. And I think that's what's so funny about my story is that I was 15 and I didn't care about skiing. Like, it was just like a fun hobby, whatever.
Because you're just following your sisters around.
And I was like, yeah, whatever. It's cool, but no biggie. But then to see that, I was like, no, this is my purpose, you know.
Cool. So then, fast forward the next 4 years as you get a little older, get a little stronger. You've got this image in your head and this goal moving forward. You qualify for the Sochi Olympics. So does your both sisters?
Both sisters.
All three of... That's how many spots were available?
4.
4. So 3 from one family. It's pretty wild.
This is really wild. Yeah.
And because of that, did you find that obviously there was a lot of media attention?
Yes, of course. But I think it was
a little overwhelming?
Not really, because we were already used to it in the sense of, for me, competing, having my 2 sisters always around me was completely normal. And it was just like, this is home. Like, I can do whatever because we do that on the World Cup circuit together.
Right.
We travel the world together.
And all
we
3
train
of you,
together.
your circle, right? Your comfort zone, your
It's-
support circle. It's not any different.
Yeah. If we're at a World Cup or the Olympic game, what's the difference? I couldn't see it. And I think it was actually a strength it gave me because I felt like so much more at ease and so much more like in my comfort zone. That I arrived in Sochi and I was like, I was so well prepared.
Really?
Yeah.
You were on it. No doubts, no questions. Feeling strong.
My team back then was so strong, so like well thought, and I was really young. I was only 19, and they really thought of it. And the Olympic Committee also invited me 2 years ahead to go to London Olympic game, which was in 2012, to just go
And experience it
as a guest.
Oh, cool.
To watch, to go visit. And I remember to have like a freak out panic attack like afterwards because I was like, I was understanding what it means, how big it was. Like I saw it from my own eyes from the inside. And I remember like, having this like, oh my God, this is too big. And because everyone will get it.
Right.
Every athlete will have that kind of shock.
Panic attack. Yeah.
Like, oh
you realize the actual weight of what's
Yes.
happening. Whereas when you're 15 and you're watching your sister, you see the lights and you're like, you see the shine and you're like, wow, this is amazing. And then the next 2 years, you're like, oh my God, there's a lot of pressure behind this.
But then because I had that experience, I arrived in Sochi so much more prepared because I was not having to experience all those little shock, but I was able to just do what I was supposed to do, which was performing.
And did you go in there expecting to win? Like planning, not expecting, but being like, I'm going to win this, like in your brain?
No.
No? You didn't think like, I'm going for the gold here. I'm going to you get a fighter or someone that builds up for an event. They're like it's like they put their mind in a position like, I'm going to win this. I'm going to do everything I can to win. That wasn't you?
I mean, it's hard for me to really confirm like that. I mean, I've never really been like a driven person, color of the medal. Like for me, it was just like
Do your best.
Do my best. Like that. I envision my line. I envision how I want to do it. If I do it the way I feel I could do it, I'm sure it's gonna be okay. You know.
And did you have like a daily routine, or like the day of the run? Do you have like a specific routine or any superstitions or anything?
You can't even imagine.
Yeah, tell me. I want to
no.
hear. Yeah, let's go.
It's like
So day of, right? The day you win the gold medal.
Yeah.
Right. You get up. You probably are you staying in the same room as one of your sisters?
Yes.
Or, yeah. So you guys are doing your same thing you've been doing for your entire lives. You get up, arguing over a hairbrush or, get out of bed. I don't know you know what I mean? You got your sibling back and forth, which is a comfort. But then what does your day look like? The day that you won the medal and I'm asking about like how things are going in your head.
Okay. I think because again, like we worked on all the process to get there so well that it was actually a simple day. For me, there was no difference between like a competition of a really lower
some
pressure
like
because we kind of make it so it's not something different.
right.
And I think what
Like the routine specifically.
the routine, it's the same. I had my mental prep coach was there and my staff and the people around me. But I think mostly it was just doing like normal stuff. And every time I was like having a doubt or having like a little tiny, okay, it's getting there. Or like a tiny like glimpse of stress. I was like, no.
Would you get nerves just on like a regular event, like a World Cup event too?
Yeah,
like when you're standing
of
at the
course.
top? Yeah.
But the only thing that I keep remembering was one step at a time. So, for example, I was like having trouble falling asleep for some reason. I was always telling myself, okay, my only step that I have to focus is now close my eyes and I have to sleep. That's my task number one right now.
Really?
Like not winning the Olympic game. Like, like if I ask you, okay, you have to eat an elephant. How are you going to eat that? You have to cut it into short pieces.
I've never thought about eating an elephant before.
I know, me neither.
One piece at a time, yeah,
But
right.
one piece at a time, and which was super simple, but that was helping me to just stay in the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I was freaking out, no, right now my only task is to take that chairlift
Right.
and breathe and
Right.
stay here for a minute. Not overthink, not think about the past, not think about the future, but just be here. And that was really what I think was the best tool I had.
So on the day, I haven't watched it in a while. Did you finish your run? Did you go for your finals run before your sister or after? Do you remember?
I think it was before.
Before. So you were waiting, watching people come down,
Yeah.
waiting to see how they
Yeah,
if they would beat you or not.
yeah.
So
That's true.
So you get down to the bottom, you're like, holy smokes, I'm in first place.
Yeah.
Do you remember how many people were after you?
I think it was 2.
Just 2?
Yeah. I think, yeah, it was insane. I was like, because I'd done my run and I was so happy, so proud.
And if you're in first, there's only 2 more. You're like, all right, I got a medal.
I mean, I was like, you know what? My job is done. You know,
Right.
like I've done everything I could. And then one after the other. I was like, oh my God, what's happening?
Right.
Like, because I think coming to Mogul, I've watched the Olympic game. I've watched like Jean-Luc Brassard, Jennifer Heil, all the big names that won the Olympic game. You know what's happening afterwards, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember when I saw the score, I was like, oh no. Oh wow. Okay. It's real. It's now happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like what I've saw and what I've...
Everything that they went to after winning, like their lives changed.
Yeah. And
like they're national heroes.
But it's like, now it's me. And it's just like such a weird feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, I cannot believe it.
And then your sister
Yeah.
comes and gets on the podium as well, which might have been like the most ridiculous moment ever when you saw her.
I mean, I think for me, it was...
Were you more happy that she got a medal than you were because that you won one?
I felt like when I actually... Why I grab her hand, like the reason is, you know, like there's 2 ceremony of...
Yeah, there's the one at
the
the event.
flower ceremony
Yeah.
and the medal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw this screen. I'm winning the Olympic game. What the fuck? Like it's like crazy energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, 2 minutes later, it feels like the podium arrived, and then now you have to jump on it. And I remember watching and seeing the podium. And I was like, oh, it's real now.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm stepping on it, it's forever be done. Like
Yeah.
and I was like, whoa, it's a lot. And I just remember like turning around and seeing Chloe and saying, okay, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's
Just so overwhelming.
so overwhelming, we're okay. We'll
And
do it together.
And you've got,
like,
yeah,
we got there.
That's so amazing. Like you worked all the way to get there at the same
Yeah.
time together. And then like that's so cool.
And I think one thing that we always, I think, said is we were so prepared for everything, every second until our performance, but we never planned out what happened afterwards, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like all the shock. And I remember just, I think, taking Chloe's hand was like that piece of knowing that I will never be alone.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And then the next few months were probably the craziest months of your life.
Yeah. Few years.
For years. Yeah, that's right. Because you continued on with the tour and with Moguls, the 2018 Olympics in Seoul. You got a silver.
Yep.
Which is pretty awesome too.
Yeah.
And then you competed in one more, the last ones in Beijing.
Yep.
And did you crash on that one?
I did.
Right. But, was it easier knowing that you had 2 already? Or was it just as frustrating? There's things like that I think about as I'm like, all right, I've already got, in my mind, or the way I think an athlete might think is, I've got 2 medals. I want to win another one. So I'm going to go and give it my all. But if I don't, I'm not as disappointed because I already have 2.
I think it's what happened with Olympic Games is every game, you're a total different person. Like you grow so much in 4 years. It's you're not seeing this. You're not seeing it the same way. And for me, every year, like Sochi, I was a baby, not knowing what's happening to me, but it happened, and then boom. Pyeongchang, I was expecting something, and I had way more pressure on myself. And I'm actually, I think, sometimes way more proud of my performance in Pyeongchang because I was having the world under my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I did one of my best run ever. I finished second by 0.09. Okay, like nobody see that, but I know that I was like right there.
Yeah.
But for people, I finished second, and it's sometimes, whatever, you just finished second. But it's, for me, that performance was way better.
Does that bother you a little bit? Do you think like, oh, I could have left my arm down on that bit of the jump, or I hit that mogul a little fat, or do you think about stuff like that, or do you have to just shut it down?
You know what? Like I've blamed and really had trouble accepting it for the past few years.
Yeah.
That I finished second at the Olympic game. But now I'm like, I should be way more proud of what I've done because the year ahead before Pyeongchang, I was living one of the hardest challenge I ever experienced, which was cancer in my family. My mom was diagnosed exactly 1 year before the Olympic game. And it threw me off the gate. And to show up that day, a year after, being able to be strong enough to compete and give my best, I was like, wow, this was even better than what I expected from my own self.
Right.
So now I'm saying, yes, it's bothered me because nobody see what's behind the performance. And that's bothered me for everyone else, every other athlete that finished second or finished third or finished fourth, because you never know what's behind a human story, because sometimes it's maybe their best result that they never wish for.
Right.
And I think sometimes, we're easy to put, if it's not gold, it's not good. But it's not that. It's
like, it's easy for someone like me watching the Olympics, watching, CBC or NBC, wherever country you are. And that's the story that we're fed, right? We're told, this is one of our medal hopefuls, and this is this. And like every interview that you do and everyone talks to you, they're like, go for it. You're going to get it. There's all those expectations, which has all that pressure. And then obviously you've got your own life and all of those things going on in the background that nobody, sometimes they'll pick up on it and they'll do one of those special stories.
Yeah.
Whereas like, this is what they're going through. But when it comes to actually like being that athlete and that competitor, we have no idea what's going on in their heads or your head.
Totally. And I think at the end of the day, everyone is struggling with something and everyone is dealing with something. And I think every game, like I said, gave me a different perspective on life. And now fast forward now to the past Olympic game in 2022 in Beijing, I was not having the same lenses than when I was 19. I was seeing it more like I want to go there and do what feels good for me. Like, it's not about what people want me to do. It's not about what my coach wants me to do. It's about what Justine wants to do. And what I wanted to do was a cork. I wanted to perform for me, it was a cork 7 because after 2 Olympic Games doing the same run, I was like, no, for me, it's not about winning. It's about pushing my own limits, which was doing a new jump. And it's kind of not easy to learn a new jump in your mid-career. But it was driving me. It was driving me so much more than ever. And of course, it was really challenging year. I would not lie. With COVID, with testing, it was China, for God's sake. So to get there, it was actually way more intense. And now that I'm having a little bit more perspective, I'm like, wow, okay, it was really intense.
So you've been able to like gather with time. You can think on each of them in their own in own little boxes, and you've been able to process and then realize what you've gained from it and what you experienced, what you've gained as a person, how you feel about it. Everything's kind of tied up.
Oh, I'm so grateful, honestly. Even each one of those experiences, even though they're really different, even though they have a win, I have a crash, but I actually love and appreciate each one of them because I made me who I am now.
It's part of your story, right?
It's part of my story, and it made me grow to someone that I never thought I would be.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, the reason that you're in Whistler is because there's a brand new chapter to your story. So you have announced that you're going to be competing on the Freeride World Tour, and now it's a competition tour, which you're familiar with, but things are very different, which we've talked about over the last couple of days. You don't have a big organization, like a country, right? You don't have a federation, like a skiing federation behind you. Like everything is different. Like, so we were skiing the other day and you're like, wow, I didn't expect this. Or like, what are so expectations going into the tour? You said you're here to train. I was talking to Derek Foose, who's my co-host on the Freeride World Tour podcast, and he's the announcer for the tour. He's also the Whistler Freeride coach. So you kind of picked his brain and been skiing with him a little bit.
Yep.
You skied with the Whistler Freeride Club. I took you on a POW Day mission on Blackcomb the other day. And I remember talking to you last March, and I was like, "What are your plans?" I'm like, "You got to move somewhere where you can just ski every day." And you're like, "That's the plan." I'm like, "Come to Whistler. Let me know if you make it." And I'm like, "I'm so stoked that you were here."
Thank you.
So how is the transition treating you? Is it what you expected? I don't even know where to start. Tell me what your thoughts are on like this new journey. I
think my expectation, I knew it will be hard. I know it would not be easy. I mean, it's really a big switch. Like it's skiing, but it's still really a different environment and a different structure and different culture.
It's different, different culture. So like the Mogul FIS, like World Cup, you've been doing that pretty much your whole life, right? Yeah. Half your life.
Yeah.
Is all right. We need to be in this place at this time, and this is where the bus leaves, and this is where the physio room is, and your sisters are going to be in that room, and this is where your coach is going to be, and then everything is kind of laid out and set up and structured for you, and they just basically say, here, this is where you need to be, and go.
Yeah.
Set your focus and show up. Now, you're on your own.
Yeah. Which is kind of why I choose to do it.
Right.
It's kind of why I was like, well, I don't know exactly why, but I was like, I don't know why, but I feel like
it's a new challenge.
I need to do it. I need to push my limit. I think from actually Beijing, I was like, you know what? That's what I loved the most about my process to get there, was to learn something new. Mm-hmm. Was to be driven by pushing my own limit, my own self every single day, to try something new, to get out of my comfort zone. And that was giving me so much like joy inside that I was like, how could I found something else that give me that? Mm-hmm. And Freeride came to my mind. How did
it make that transition? Were you familiar with like Hedvig? And
yes.
Yeah.
I think Hedvig is mostly my main inspiration for why I did the switch, because I saw her after Pyeongchang, switching right away and going all the way into freeride.
And did you know her from the tour?
Of course.
Yeah.
She was with Mogul, I think, during Sochi and Pyeongchang. So I knew her, and to see how well she did and how fast her learning curve went, and like already on the podium after almost a year, I was like really impressed. And I was like, wow, okay, it's impressive. I really respect that. And I think that's where the idea, but I just put it aside, like I had Beijing to get to, but also, but still, I think when I started, the really, I remember the focus was when I started doing corks. And I started working with a different coach, which was way more into grabs, into fun stuff, and to pushing into more that slopestyle kind of sphere.
More freestyle.
Yeah.
Right?
And I was like, oh my goodness, this is so much fun. Like there's no wrong, there's no bad. You can touch your foot or not, or touch your, like, it was just so much freedom. And I felt like, wow, this is calling me. And then the switch came up to, Edvig. Like, that exists, that freeride world that I mean, it's for me, like, it feels really far when you're in Mogul. It feels really far, but in a sense, it's love for skiing. That's the end.
Have you done much like free riding? Much free skiing, like big mountain stuff, or even like POW days? I always would tease people when they would be on tours like that. I'd be like, do you ever get to ski any POW?
Honestly, no.
Not a lot.
Not a lot. I would say even none, because I never had time.
Right. And even if you get to do a little run, you're wearing the skinny skis, right?
I was wearing my skinny skis, and when you have a day off, your legs, your body is dead from skiing mogul. So you don't think even for a second that you're going to put yourself into way more like leg workout into powder.
Right.
So I never had the chance. But then I started to do more skiing with my friends at home, and just like buying myself like skis for fun, not only having my tiny skis and going every weekend. And at first I was like, oh, whatever, I don't want to join you guys. Like, I will just meet you at the bar. That's really what I was saying.
You just didn't want to ski.
I didn't want to ski.
Yeah.
But then
just meet you at the bar. Yeah. I
was like overwhelmed. Like, I've done enough skiing in my life, I thought. And then
this is just a different style. It's like a different. Yeah, it's like, this is different. This is fun. This is new.
But then I started to do that, skiing more with my friends with the right equipment. And I was like, wow, okay. Like, I don't hate skiing. Right. I love skiing. Like, it's fun. And it doesn't need to be uncomfortable with my ski boot. It doesn't need to be boring. Like, I can just like charge and have fun and jump around like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And falling back in love with skiing, with just like the pure joy of skiing with your friends, with my family, I was like, wow, okay, I still have it inside of me. It's that part of me. It's not gone.
Because it was, like you said, half your life. It's just same thing. It just got it worn down on you a little bit, and you're like, deep down, you needed a change.
I needed a change. I needed a new goal, a new challenge, because I think that's something that I learned. I love challenge. I love pushing myself. And that's something I know for sure. So
now that you've been doing a lot of free skiing, right? This is your second time into Whistler this year. You're heading to Austria like next week.
Yeah.
You've been skiing with like ripping around, following the Freeride Club kids.
Yeah.
Like, we went out the other day. Tell me what you're experiencing. Like, what's different? What are you like still like when you go home and you're doing the stretch, you're like, oh, that was the best part of the today. Like, what's really getting you going?
There's so many things that is different. But first, oh gosh, where do I start? Well, the equipment, one. The time.
What's specifically like the better skis? I'm gonna say better skis.
Better skis. A backpack. Having.
You like having the pack on?
No. It's annoying. I used to have nothing. Now I'm like feeling so much more like weight.
It's funny, when we were skiing the other day, I was thinking this when I was riding my bike home. As I was telling you, put your transceiver on or whatever.
Yeah.
Always just have it.
Yeah.
Just because you never know if someone's going to say, hey, we're going to go for a boot pack. But then I was thinking about it, that a lot of the freeride athletes, they love being able to go skiing without their pack. Yeah. And I was thinking you should probably always have your pack just so you can get used to it.
Well, that's my goal as well. Like, that's how I see it, because there's so much to get used to that I have to like just have the same thing, the same way to ski, so that way I get used to it faster. But to come back to your question, I think the other thing that is different is the time on the mountain. I used to go skiing for 2 hours, like train intense, boom, get out and go back home. And now it's like 8 till the mountain close. So it's like longer days outside, and I used to have way more time for myself. After 2 hours, you can go for a stretch, you can go for a gym. I will go for studying. I'll go like, like I have time, like physiotherapists, and then it's like gone on and on and on. But now like I'm coming back home and I'm like, wow, it's 4:00.
Yeah, because it was good and I wanted to keep doing it.
Exactly, but that's for sure a big difference.
It's like I just want to keep skiing. Like we did 3 laps of Spankies the other day, which is what I would do on a POW day anyways.
Yeah.
And I was like, follow me, we're gonna go here. Like actually before we get farther, I wanted to ask you a question about that day. I didn't ask you. It's like when you were following me in, when you're like, okay, where's this guy taking me? Where are we going? Did you have like any like concerns?
No, I don't have concern. Like I think what I'm now understanding is whenever I'm going skiing with people that I don't like know like enough, I just like love to just follow and with a distance and see where we're going. But I mean, I think I just like trust my instinct and just like follow along. And if I don't feel comfortable, I'll just say it and like go on the side but just follow.
Because in my mind, I saw you when I ran over to you and you're like, how did you know it was me? I'm like, oh, because I saw you skiing down. I'm like, that person knows what they're doing. Well, like you can just see how people ski down a hill. And you're like, how did you know that was me? I'm like, well, I saw you ski past everybody, and I'm like, all right, that person is a professional skier and knows how to ski. And also it's the peak gear.
Right. You're right.
But then like I knew, obviously I know your history, so I'm like, all right, we'll go for a ski. And then that first lap, I kind of was like, all right, I'm going to have her follow me, take it. I look back, I'm like, oh, she's fine. Right. And then also talking to Derek, he's like, tells me a lot of like skiing with you. We'll get to that in a bit. Some of the things he told me, which are really cool. But I'm like, oh, she knows what she's doing. And in my mind, I just want to go ski these lines anyways.
Yeah.
But then also I want you to come and ski those bits and pieces, because deep down I'm like, I just want to help her get as many reps as possible.
I think what's so nice about Freeride community is that sense of like helping each other, and that's something that I kind of understood quite like rapidly, and I was shook. I think in Mogul, when you asked me like what's the biggest difference, and that's for sure that.
Yeah, we were talking about it on the chairlift, right? You said like everyone's just so open and to help and to share.
It's at first I was like not understanding. Like it was, people told me about it and I was like, yeah.
Were you suspicious when the first people were like, hey, follow me, or like, why don't you do this?
No, I was never suspicious, but I think not ready for that much love and care for each other and respect. And I think I was like amazed, and really amazed in the good sense of, wow, this is really true. It's not a joke. People really care about each other and really help each other into that journey. And I think that's really something that I'm really impressed about the freeride, is the sense of community. And I think,
and not even just like in the competition circuit, but just people that ski. It's just it's the skiing world. It's the skiing community is so small.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you, you could go, you could go to all these different places, and as soon as you know one person, well, then you're set. You either have a place to live, or to stay, or a couch to crash on, or they'll give you advice on where to go, or where to get a ride, or how to get a good meal, or come over and hang out. Or
well, that's really new for me.
Yeah,
that's really something.
And that's
new.
Not something that was in the Mogul community.
Oh,
Is it
no.
because there's always competition with each other and nobody's really helping each other out, or what?
There's a lot of competition. Like I said, like there's only 4 spots to go to the Olympic game, and that's what people think all the time, is who's gonna get it.
And that's just within Canada, but is that the same kind of with other countries' athletes?
Yeah, I think so, because
everybody's just kind of doing their own thing.
Everyone have their team, and they're hanging out in their team. Yes, like I still have friends from other country, but it's not that inclusive and that
People don't go out of their way. It's not part of the culture to be like, hey, let me show you something, or come and...
Like, it's specific friendship, but it's not like to everyone out there. Like, hey, come to my house. Like, no, it's like you're just like having...
Like on the chair on the bike ride home, I was thinking too, like I ran into, because it was a POW day. We haven't had a good POW day in a long time.
Yeah.
And when there's a POW day, you see everyone you know, all my friends. And it was funny. I don't know how many people I said hi to or ran into. She's probably like, man, this guy must know everybody.
It was a good day.
But just like the boot crew, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, this is Sam. You were telling me boots, go talk to them. They'll get you started with your boots. And then you were skiing with Drew. I'm like, oh, Drew works at the boot shop too. Like everything's connected. Everybody.
No, it's a really small world. And now that's what I'm seeing is like, okay, like it's true. Like you don't have to meet that many people to know everyone. At the end of the day, it's a small community and they really help out each other. And I'm impressed because it was really not that all the time in Mogul.
That's exciting. That's my favorite part of this journey for you. Just like being an observer is like watching somebody who's so established come into my world. And like
I feel so, honestly, like I remember when I went to Verbier, I was feeling like so small in my pants. Like I was petrified.
Yeah.
I remember I had a meltdown like in the car, like going to Verbier. I was like, like meeting new people, meeting a new environment where I know nobody. I felt so like stressed.
Did you?
Yeah.
And then because you came out with Peak Performance Crew.
Yeah.
Right. And then I think I met you while we were getting raclette.
Yeah.
And you were just super friendly and nice. I'm like, oh, this is exactly who I was hoping this person was. Like I said, like I was, you're a Canadian hero. I'm an Olympics fan. I'm like, oh, this is like one of my heroes, my country's heroes. And I'm like, oh, she's super cool, like super friendly and nice. And that was like, I'm like, great. But the fact that you were coming into that, like kind of nervous and out of your element too,
totally.
Which is, it's fast. You never know what someone else is going through, right?
And I think I was feeling that way because I was going out of my comfort zone in another level. But I remember I was like, even though how I feel right now is shitty, I'm not good.
Really?
I'm not feeling good, but it's because I'm going to the right way. Right. You know, when you're pushing yourself and you feel uncomfortable, that's where you're supposed to go.
Did that feeling kind of fade after a while? The next few days were great.
I mean, after that, because I met people and I started talking to people and I was like, oh my goodness, like people are genuinely nice.
Were you in your mind thinking, maybe not thinking specifically about it, but because you have the experiences with the former culture where it's not as warm or not as welcoming, were you expecting maybe something more similar to that?
I didn't know what to expect, honestly, but I think it was more than what I expected in a good sense. And I was like, wow, okay, this is real. This is not fake. It's true. It's genuinely a family, a culture of helping out each other and caring about each other. And I think it was so beautiful to see from my own eyes. And that's where I was like, okay, now let's try. Let's try for myself and let's go ski some POW in Big Mountain.
Yes. That's my favorite thing I've heard in a long time. Like I love that's why I do this show, is I love this culture. I grew up, I chose it. Every major life decision I've ever made has something to do with whether I can do this, go skiing. Like this is my job now. I talk about it and I think about it and I just want to share and talk to people about what they love about it. Yeah. And being able to see someone like yourself coming into that world with fresh eyes, but from your whole experience you've had before and then moving into it and realizing how awesome it is.
Yeah.
And then me being able to like share a little bit of that with you as well. Oh man, it makes me so excited.
Well, thank you for sharing. I think that's also the big part is we're all human and we just love skiing.
Everybody's, it'll get better and better. Everyone's just going to be like, try this or go there, go this. So back to, before we got off on track of that, is more like specifics, differences. Like what have been some of the challenges of like the skiing?
The skiing is mostly the equipment, that it's just a different way to like turn, to brake. I'm used to a certain like weight under my feet to do my tricks. So now it's different. So it just,
And the terrain's way different too, right? Before you were always kind of on the zipper line. There's a manicured.
But that's a funny one. That's a funny subject because people think that mogul skier just do mogul. Like we don't, like we're not able to ski anything else. And it's kind of, I'm like, guys, have you ever done mogul like at that pace that we do?
Oh, hell no.
Like we go so fast. We do 8 mogul per second.
Yeah, we went through them little mogul zone the other day, and you were behind me, and I'm like, I hope she's not watching me.
No, but we know how to do things with our body, our feet, our skis in 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
There is 8 mogul on their feet. Like it's a lot moving on,
Right.
and that makes us really
Nimble.
yes, we can juggle with
Right.
like things. Like
Yeah.
it's going fast, but we have things under our feet. Our
Right.
arms are moving, and we have to think. Oh, but we have a jump in front of us, and we have to do a cork, and then we like have to put our eyes there, our feet there. So there is a lot of thing moving on. So going to freeride where it's just like big land, and I see the jump far ahead, but I have to do 3 turn. This is calm.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that you totally
I think I said
you totally answered what I was thinking, but like you corrected me because I was thinking, you know, when you're going through and the terrain's a little more choppy and it's not a smooth consistent pitch, right? There's lots of rollovers and the snow's a little bit different, you know, like, but you just explained it to me. Like I started when you explained that, I was thinking about like a football player doing like dry land training.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or any kind of dry land training. Well, you do that so that your muscles and your body work in order to do other things.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that just makes sense to me now.
And then it's not because I do small turn that I cannot do big turn.
Right.
And
It's
people
probably
are like,
easier to do big turns.
it's just easier. It's just, I have more time. I can breathe. I can think. Now,
Right.
like, it's not only like 8 mogul in the same time. Like, it's one big turn. So I have time. I can breathe. And it's just, yeah, it's kind of funny because I got that quite a lot. It was like, well, when you go skiing for fun, do you do like tiny turns? I'm like, of course not. Like, I'm not like crazy into mogul that much.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like
right.
I know, like we learn to turn. We learn how to edge.
Yeah.
We learn how to do the smallest thing. Yes, we have a weird position, but that just makes us more stable in those situations.
Right.
But I can be stable in other situations.
All right. So that's
Yeah.
perfect that you brought that up because I was talking to Derek about that and he was really impressed with your like physical ability and your your body awareness. You said, you know, when you go through and there's something a little bit different or the angle's off. And he said he was talking to you about hitting jumps. Specifically like a flat takeoff or a negative takeoff where you're used to just hitting these vertical booters, right? And he said it was awesome watching you process how to approach that new takeoff. And he said that, you know, you've only known the one way, but you're so in tune with your body and how it works and the physicality and the physics of things that he said watching you kind of process and then adapt that new learning to that spot, he said he's never seen anything like it. He was like it was amazing just being able to adjust to the new to that new thing because you have the ability to do it. And he said you're like very analytical. Just watching you like process it instead of just being like, oh, maybe I'm gonna go over here, go over there. For you, it was more like you could almost see like the numbers calculating in your head. I'm paraphrasing, but
I'm actually blushing. I'm really happy to hear that. I think, yeah, like I said, jumping into this world, I felt really small in my short. I feel really like humble to be here and to be joining it, and I don't want to step too fast. But for me, like it's a learning curve. Like, but that's something I know for sure, and I know I'm capable of is learning. Like. I can be coach. Tell me, put my hands there, put my eyes there, put my every part of my body. I know where they are when I'm skiing and I can adjust.
Right.
Like it's not dead, you know, like it's something that I've been doing my whole life is someone telling me what to do exactly how they want it and you do it. So
that's the coaching part, right?
Yeah.
Where then moving forward
Yep.
is that because it's very abstract, right? Freeride is very abstract. You get to choose your own adventure, right? So you can do your training, which is exactly what you're doing right now is figuring it all out, just adapting your skills to this new venue. But do you think that might be one of the most difficult parts? Are you excited about that? Is like being able to look at a line, pick a line, decide where you're going to go. It's more of that abstract part where you're not coached. You have to figure it out.
It's 100% my struggle right now, because I was actually excited to not have a coach and feel that freedom of doing and deciding everything fast, like what's next for me. But now I'm like, okay, I like it. It's nice to a certain point.
Yeah.
Now I'm missing a lot, that sense of, I think it's not that much to be coached, but building something with someone else. I think that's what I miss the most. Is what I love about coaching is that someone telling you something and you're like, really? Okay, I don't know. I'll try it. And then it worked. And then you have that instinct connection with someone and you're like, wow, we
worked through a problem together, right?
And we did it. And
because you went through that with your sisters, right? Growing up, you had that. So I guarantee you, the three of you, before you even got to Olympic level, try this, or I saw you were doing this, or you're dropping your hand. You've always had that. Yeah. And now you're on your own. Yeah. Kind of. Is it scary?
It is. Honestly, but I'm being honest. Like it's true, but it's okay. Like I'm not.
It's scary but exciting scary?
Yeah.
Like, is it one of those things where, like, I can do this on my own?
Like, it's like uncomfortable, comfortable.
Right.
Like, it's enough uncomfortable that I can do it, but I'm pushing myself doing it. So, and I'm aware and conscious that it's okay to not be comfortable right now, but I know it will be one day. But I think it's not having that coach system that I see now that I'm like, oh my God, I'm so drilled to be coached. It's terrible. It's who I am.
Right.
And like you said, like a few seconds ago, like about how analytic I am, you would ask anybody in Mogul, they would say that I was like the least analytic person in Mogul. Could you imagine?
No. Well, yes, I
was the least, and here I am the worst.
Right.
In Freeride in Mogul.
Right.
So that's just how you can see that.
Okay, so those are the differences. What are some of the characteristics and the things that you're good at Moguls that you're able to transfer to this?
Jumps.
Yeah.
I've been doing so many jumps in my life. I tried to count, but
That's what he was saying, is your air awareness is really amazing. And it's, I think, once you figure out looking at a face and having the comfortability of being like, okay, this is where I'm going to go. No matter how, because I think he was mentioning like, oh, if I go a little bit, like half a beat faster, half a beat slower, if I'm this or this, like you're able to dissect so many components to the fine detail that when you roll into a jump, no matter how fast or how slow you're going to go, you're going to be able to figure out how to land it. But at the same time, the challenge, I guess, would be to like, well, which one do I go off of?
Yeah.
How do I get there?
Yeah.
Where am I going afterwards?
Totally. I think it's the environment. The skills are there. The processing and learning curve is still on the go. Mm-hmm. And I know it will take time. But at the end of the day, a jump is a jump. And a landing is a landing and how it will be a good jump. It's all about how you're going to be on the takeoff. That's point, period.
Right.
Like if your head is back and you're on the takeoff, having your feet in front, you'll land on your back. That's it. That like there's no, but that's something that like in Mogul, that's how you do jumps, is all about the takeoff. That's the key.
And now with these new takeoffs, natural takeoffs, so we said flat takeoff, negative takeoff, how are you dealing with those?
I think that's also adjusting. It's really body awareness again. If a jump is kick, you just have to be more forward. If your jump is flat, you just have to be more powerful first and then a little bit more into your heels. But for me, it's it's not science. It's really simple.
It is science, though.
It's
I think it is.
it is, I guess. But it's what we do in Mogul.
Right.
The best. We take so much time to analyze everything, and we watch so many, and I think that's what I'm bringing to freeride.
So have you started to hit those spots and do little tricks and
Yes, I'm starting to do it more and more. I think it's complicated is for sure like what I'm used to is like building a jump and hitting the jump 20 times.
Right.
You know, like
until you know it inside and out.
Do it, and then like I feel so good, so comfortable. But now that you're skiing and you're like, oh, let's see that one. Let's jump that one. And like, well, normally I would do probably like 3 to 4 jump before going into backflip. So now like I think that's what it's harder is I don't hike. I'm not like spending that much time into one jump.
Right.
There's like one jump there. Oh, then let's do that run.
Right.
But you never come back to that same. So that's how I have to like kind of let go of my.
And is it like a trust thing? Like I need to know what the landing is.
I think so too.
And then eventually, once you have a little bit more like a bunch more practice or experience, you're gonna be like, all right, whatever. I know what the snow conditions are like on the mountain at the moment.
Yeah.
I can see what the run out is gonna be. Well, let's go for it.
I think for me right now, it's building my trust with my skills in this environment, and I'm kind of respecting that I should not like step forward and skip some step.
Right.
I think it's important to really respect my learning experience, and it's okay. Sometimes I feel behind when I even ski with the kids. I was like, wow, okay, I feel like so behind. But I know like all those years and all those times working on my jumps are never gone. They're there. They're inside of my body.
One day it's gonna click and you're gonna be like, oh.
It just, I need to be gentle and smart with how I'm approaching it and be kind to myself as well.
Now, are you also aware of there's going to be a point in time where you have to let loose?
Yep.
Are you getting there?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think knowing that the competition are coming is for sure. Yeah, I can feel, okay, it's getting real. It's getting real. Well, that's why I'm training here. That's why I'm going to Austria and I'm taking every opportunity that I have to train hard and to be, well, I don't know if I will ever be 100% ready, but I will know for sure that I've done everything I could to be.
What kind of expectations do you have for yourself? Do you have anything? I'm not going to ask you any specific, like, I know I could ask you, do you have a podium in mind or do you have a place in mind? I don't care about that. Do you have anything specifically for yourself where you'll be like, okay, I'm happy with how that went?
I think I would be really, really proud if I'm able to learn few backflip this year. I think that would be my dream.
That's exciting. Have you been watching old tapes, like
of course,
all the old events?
I've been doing my homework.
Yeah.
But I think my very only goal this winter is to find joy, to find happiness, to surprise myself out there, to have so much fun that I never had before with skiing. I think it's gaining and having a healthy relationship with skiing again. That's what I'm aiming for.
That's awesome. I think that's a great place to leave it. And I can tell you that with the Freeride World Tour, and we've said this a million times, it's like a family. Once you get on tour with all those people and you're in that same place and it's an atmosphere similar to what you're familiar with, but it's different because you're like, hey, we have to wait a few days. Well, we're going to go for a ski or we're going to go hang out. And we don't have to be at a certain place for a massage or an interview or whatever. Everyone just kind of figures it out. And it's really like a big family. And what you just said is awesome. I think it makes me so happy. So good luck.
Thank you.
Best of luck with your training. Hopefully we can get out for another day of skiing before you go. Looks like we've got some snow coming.
Cross figure. Yep.
Let's go. I'm gonna try and steal some tricks off, some secrets from you.
Of course.
But yeah, it's gonna be exciting, and thanks for coming.
Well, thank you for having me. And I'm super pumped and super excited for this season. I'm can't ask for a better start of the season.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we will see you, and best of luck. Thanks for watching this video on the LPP YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me. And while you're here, you may as well watch this great LPP highlights video. Thanks.